Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Serene Podcast. The Serene Pod is myself, Mark, and
Selin.
Selin. How have you been? What's new?
Yeah, good. I feel like the Christmas break just went very quickly.
Okay.
Because I just ended up packing it all up with family time.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Friends time, and doing lots of catching up with people,
Mm-hmm.
which I think is good. I think Christmas is like a sweet and sour for me because I'm conscious of my young people that are
Fair.
feeling low at that time and having that void and that part that's missing for them during that period.
Mm-hmm.
So I find that difficult to switch off during that period
Yeah.
because I'm keeping them in mind. But also, I also feel like I'm not spending enough time or the amount of time I would like to spend with my friends and my family. So I take that time to really go in there and just spend as much time as I can and catch up with them and spend memories and create memories. Because also my grandparents, you know, that we don't know how long everyone's going to be here for. So I just want to make sure that I'm being conscious of that as well. So yeah, it's sweet and sour for me, that period. But then also, I also feel like because I packed it up, I didn't feel rested enough.
Yeah. I know what you mean.
So yeah, I'm kind of regretting that now.
Okay. Fair.
So yeah, I feel like I shouldn't have packed it up as much as I did, but yeah, it's done now. But I do have a few little weekend trips booked, so I can maybe have that rest time.
Nice.
And I just looked at some January sale deals just to
nice.
get a little breaks in.
Ooh, Chinese sales.
Yeah, so I think that's definitely needed because I don't want to start off the new year. I've got some amazing projects this year, and as it goes along, I will share some amazing projects that I'm doing this year. But I don't want to be entering new projects with burnout, so I'm very conscious of that. So yeah, that was my Christmas and New Year's, and I'm happy that we're back. I'm happy that we're on season 3.
Yeah.
This season we're fully booked already, so I'm really happy with the guests that we've got coming on and the topics we're going to discuss. So it's exciting stuff for this year. How about you? How was yours?
Yeah, good. Christmas. It was interesting. A lot of I was just super grateful for the Christmas period anyway. I think last year was such an interesting year and it ended well. So I was very much like just grateful for how the year ended. And I was sick a lot during the Christmas period, which was annoying. I had tonsillitis twice.
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't know you could get it that
Yeah. It was very frustrating and tough just having it. And then I did a lot of cooking for Christmas.
Cool.
I had to take on the cooking because obviously, well, I don't think I said it on this pod, but my wife was pregnant. We now have a newborn.
Congrats.
Which is amazing.
Exciting.
Yeah, so, but over the Christmas period, she was pregnant.
Yeah.
So, I didn't really want her to do all the cooking or whatever.
Yeah.
So, I cooked a turkey for the first time in my life. The whole turkey, made the
How
whole
was that?
thing. The turkey was great. Like,
Okay.
I'm shocked. I literally got a recipe from TikTok and I just kind of made it happen, and yeah, it worked. And then I cooked a bunch of stuff. I often do desserts every Christmas, so I do like cookies and apple crumble.
Oh, I have to try that, please.
So I did apple crumble. I did cookies, and they were fire. But I made like 2 batches that were terrible first,
Okay.
and then I made a good batch.
Okay.
Because I don't measure nothing when I cook.
Me too.
I just go by like.
Yeah,
you know
me
what I mean?
too. Spontaneous.
But everything was great. Everything turned out great. And then, yeah, it was weird because we were hoping baby would come like more in the Christmas period. And no, baby did not come until the 7th of Jan. So we were just kind of waiting, sitting around waiting. So, yeah, it was an odd Christmas, but it was good. It was a great Christmas. We didn't get to see family as much just because... Again, we were kind of waiting, thinking, and my wife was having like contractions over the Christmas period, so we were like, oh, "It's gonna happen," you know.
Yeah.
So, but other than that, it was great. And now it's just New Year's, obviously adjusting to being a dada too, which is an adjustment.
Okay.
a real adjustment. And I think it's parenting is very interesting. Parenting too. And I think it is definitely a very important topic, especially with the things that are happening in the world right now.
Definitely.
I don't know if you saw.
Yeah.
I mean, initially I heard about this from the usual scrolling.
Yeah,
the scrolling with scroll.
Where we hear everything.
Yeah. So I heard about this a while ago about I think Brooklyn Beckham having some issue with his parents and his family. And I wasn't too sure what was going on.
Yeah, me too.
There wasn't too much clarity. What I do know, from what I know at least, is that he had basically distanced himself from his family for some reason. There were some issues around how his family felt about his partner.
Yeah.
So he distanced himself, and then his family were trying to reach out on social media and posting all these pictures and stuff. And he had, or they had been blocked, or he had blocked them, or they had blocked him. I'm not sure, but it was like a whole thing.
Yeah.
But I wasn't too sure exactly what happened until yesterday, where Brooklyn decided to put out a statement that was pretty compelling and interesting. Shall I?
Definitely, I want to hear it.
I'll happily break down the statement.
I definitely want to hear it.
It's going to be a bit of a read.
Yeah, that's fine. But I definitely want to hear it.
I'll give it a full...
Because I have heard... So I knew about something going on from a little while ago, and I saw some really awkward pictures on a red carpet being taken a little while ago, and I was like, this looks a bit strange. And then I heard that he posted something, and I've seen some really interesting AI dancing videos of Victoria Beckham, so I was like, what's going on here? So let's hear it.
So I'm hoping this is in the right order.
Okay.
I'm hoping this is in the right order, but we'll get the gist.
Yeah.
It's all the same stuff.
That's the main
right
thing.
So This is what he posted. He said, I have been silent for years and made every effort to keep these matters private. Unfortunately, my parents and their team have continued to go to the press, leaving me with no choice but to speak for myself and tell the truth about only some of the lies that have been printed. For my entire life, my parents have controlled narratives in the press about our family. The performative social media posts, family events, and inauthentic relationships have been a fixture of my life, of the life I was born into. Okay. He said, my parents have been trying endlessly to ruin my relationship since before my wedding. During the wedding planning, my mum went so far as to call me evil because Nicola and I chose to include my nanny Sandra and Nicola's Nuna at our table.
That's Italian nan.
Okay, cool. Because they both didn't have their husbands. Right. Both of our parents have their own tables equally adjacent to ours, right? The night before our wedding, members of my family told me that Nicola was not blood and not family. Since the moment I started standing up for myself with my family, I've received endless attacks from my parents, both privately and publicly, that were sent to the press on their orders. Even my brothers were sent to attack me on social media before they ultimately blocked me out of nowhere this last summer. My mum hijacked my first dance with my wife, which had been planned weeks in advance, to a romantic love song in front of our 500 wedding guests. Mark Anthony called me to the stage where in the schedule was planned to be my romantic dance with my wife, but instead my mum was waiting to dance with me instead. She danced very inappropriately on me in front of everyone. I've never felt more uncomfortable or humiliated in my entire life. Wow. We wanted to renew our vows so we could recreate our memories of our wedding day that bring us joy and happiness, not anxiety and embarrassment. It don't stop there. My family values public promotion and endorsement above all else. Brand Beckham comes first. Family love is decided by how much you post on social media or how quickly you drop everything to show up and pose for a family photo op, even if it's at the expense of our professional obligations. Wow. We've gone out of our way for years to show up and support at every fashion show, every party, and every press activity to show our perfect family. in quotations. But the one time my wife asked for my mum's support to save displaced dogs during the LA fires, my mum refused. The narrative that my wife controls me is completely backwards. I have been controlled by my parents for most of my life. I grew up with overwhelming anxiety. For the first time in my life, since stepping away from my family, that anxiety has disappeared. I wake up every morning grateful for the life I chose and have found peace and relief. My wife and I do not want a life shaped by image, press, or manipulation. All we want is peace, privacy, and happiness for us and our future family.
Wow.
Ooh, I might just
Wow.
just take a sip of water.
That is a lot to digest.
Yeah.
That is a lot.
Yeah. So, Selin, in reading that, is there any opinions or perspective that you feel like you have on, one, how his parents are behaving, but also how he's responding?
Yeah, it's really, it's like, do I go in with my therapy angle and my therapy lens, or do I go in with just being a member of the public, just hearing that? And that's what I'm really torn with, because I feel like if that's his truth and that's his experience, then that is the reason why, for example, we created this pod, so people can feel heard and share their truth, right? So I think it's good that he's sharing his truth, if that's his authentic truth, right? But at the same time, we don't know someone else's truth of that story. True. Do we?
Yeah. Facts.
So if they were sitting around a round table across from each other and they're sharing each other's truth, then we'll get a bigger, better picture, and then we'd be able to comment better, because then we'd understand, then we can come up with our own conclusion on that. So I think it's really difficult to understand what the parents have experienced compared to what he has experienced. Because for me, I'm like, oh, the young person, it must have been very difficult in the limelight all the time. Must have that control. I can see why he would have felt anxiety and why he would have felt controlled. But then at the same time, is there an element of protection from a parent that is in the limelight of protecting the child from the press and different narratives that might have been written about him, because they're always in the limelight. So that's where I'm really torn. Like, is there a sense of protection or is there a sense of control? And I think there's a fine line between both things.
Yeah. Boy, I hear you. It's
difficult, isn't it?
I might have a controversial opinion.
Okay, go for it. Let's hear it.
So obviously, firstly, to preface, I know David personally.
Really?
I don't know why that's funny.
Do you really?
Yes. I have some level of a relationship. I met him once.
Yeah, all right. Okay.
He was lovely.
He was lovely.
He was probably the first famous person I ever met.
Okay.
And, but we really met, like, as in we met in person, shook my hand, we shared a lift together, we spoke. You know, he smelled unreal. He's probably the best. Smell me. Probably Theo's probably a close second, but he's probably the best smelling human being I've ever met.
Wait, so because of the smell, you're gonna be biased?
I'll be honest. I am biased because I'm a David Beckham fan. Like,
okay.
Oh my gosh, David Beckham is a hero of mine, and then obviously meeting him was like, you know, as in I've still got the picture, but the picture is blurry because my hand was shaking so much.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Okay. And it's crazy because the same day I met David Beckham, I met Muhammad Ali. But it didn't mean the same thing.
Right, okay.
And it was like, cool. Of course, it's Muhammad Ali.
Okay.
Much greater legend.
I really need to know about this day, but on another episode.
It wasn't like somewhere in Enfield, like the Londis or something. It was like a real thing. But yeah, David Beckham's such a hero of mine. So this was hard to read and hear about. I think being a parent, I have a lot more grace for parents. I have a lot of grace because parenting is hard. I can't imagine what it's like to parent when you're David Beckham and Victoria Beckham and you're stinking ridiculously rich and influential and everything you do is watched, monitored and used for something, for clickbait. That's not to absolve them of any fault that they had in the choices they made and how they've raised their children. And, because everything he said in that, if true, is horrible. It's terrible.
Yeah,
right?
Definitely.
But I do think it's hard for me to go, oh, they're so bad, when I know how hard it is to parent with no influence and no, And I cannot imagine, I've always said it, I can't imagine being a grown adult, having your child marry someone that maybe you really didn't think they should marry or see like you have such a problem with or you've had such a problem with, and your child to turn around, the person that, and I don't know if this is the case, but I'm just giving perspective. You as a parent, you've loved and cherished this child your whole life and you've raised them, and they turn around and they go, you controlled me and you... I can't imagine what that would feel like because it sounds heartbreaking. But of course, there's two parts to this.
Yeah,
there's
definitely.
a child that obviously shouldn't have experienced that growing up if that's what he experienced. And then again, if there's parents that were just trying to parent in the best way possible, which I don't think you have a guidebook for, especially not in that level of influence and money, that must be tough. So I feel like when I read it, everybody was very much on Brooklyn side. Oh, Brooklyn, yeah. Man. But I always come into a lot of these issues where there are no sides to me. There's no good or bad. Everybody's made some kind of mistake and everybody's done some kind of good. So I'll never take what he says as face value and be like, okay, his parents are the enemy. But clearly they've done something here that has affected him in a way. So yeah, it's like I have an interesting perspective on it. I also come from a Nigerian household, right? And fortunately, my family, my wife's family, they're fine. Everybody's okay. There's no issue. There's no, oh, we don't like you or we don't like you. That's not an issue. But I know that in our culture, there are many times where a daughter-in-law people refuse. You can't marry that person, and it's just point blank period. And certain people have gone ahead and the whole family doesn't even attend the wedding because they refused to accept that person as And so I think to myself, if my son grew up in 15, 20 years, 20, 25 years, 22 years, 23 years, and brought someone home that I didn't think was best for him, would that matter to me? So that question's like, that's hard. That's a hard question.
That is a very hard question.
That's a hard question because that's a real, you want to support your child at the same time. What if you're watching him connect with someone that from foresight, you could see that this person could potentially ruin your life. So it's like, do you just go, oh, no, it's fine. So I don't,
I think culturally, there's been many scenarios in our family where someone has wanted to introduce somebody to the family and they want to get married, and for whatever reason, the elders in the family have said no.
Yeah.
And that person or those people that I know of have gone on to be quite unhappy because they feel very torn, that they know that they're going to be disowned, which is an actual thing in our culture, or to go along and marry that person, have no family, or make the family happy, but then you're unhappy for the rest of your
Yeah,
life in the marriage. So they've been very torn. And then I've seen both aspects of that in our family happen. So I feel like there needs to be a point where parents and grandparents do let go and understand that that child is not a child anymore and is an adult. And they need to make up their mind on who they are choosing to spend the rest of their life with, even if you feel that's not the right person. Because in our eyes, that child is still a child, but it's not. It's an adult. So I think they will only learn in life by going down that path as an adult and understanding if it does work, great. And if it doesn't work, then they'll learn from it. And it's a lesson. And we always are continuously learning lessons in life.
Yeah, of course.
So I think that whole situation around the wedding for him with Victoria Beckham and all that, I don't, if that was the real story, I don't think that was played out well.
Yeah, no.
And I think the moment that you should have with your wife, with your first dance in your wedding is it's like a ritual, that wedding ceremony. I think that was taken away from him, and I don't think that was a great parenting choice that day. And for them to kind of step back and allow him to live his life, and that's who he's picked, then that's who is picked, and you have to be happy that he's happy as a parent. That's the main thing. But when it comes to his childhood, like you said, there's no parenting book. You know, you don't know what you're doing. You're learning on the job.
At least not in their world. Their world, I can't imagine.
Yeah, exactly. Which is much harder. But also, they were famous.
Yeah.
Growing up, they were famous. So maybe they didn't experience as much control from their parents that they would have liked to, because it would have allowed them to be more protected from the press growing up, maybe. And that's why they ended up being more controlling and protective over their children, because they didn't experience that as famous kids growing up and teenagers growing up. Maybe they felt like they needed that. So that's why they were like that for their children. So it could be that element. These are all theories, obviously, because we haven't heard from their side.
Course.
So it could be that. So there is a sense of like compassion towards them, because also as parents, you don't know, and you're just, think that this is the best for your child, but then the child might not think it's the best for them.
Yeah, see, and the only reason I'm like not all in on like, oh, the parents are in the wrong, is because, so I often look at family, parents, but also what are the siblings doing?
Yes.
So because the siblings don't also seem to be going with what Brooklyn's doing, that's where now I go, ooh. Because I can only go by my family. And if my mum, for example, was in the wrong, we wouldn't all just be like, oh yeah, we wouldn't all just go with, do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
There would be some level of, if one of my siblings did something or they were doing something wrong or whatever, we would all say, we would speak about it, we'd be vocal, we'd be open. So I'm like, I don't know, I don't have siblings that are like bandwagon siblings that, if my mum says something about one person, we're all gonna then go, yeah, okay, we hate that person. That's just not how we are. So that's why I'm like, I can't relate to that. So having his siblings like block him or whatever is like, that's kind of odd. You know, that's a bit strange, I would say. The other thing I would say is, because again, even when we talk about the wedding, right? We talk about the first dance thing. I think maybe culture by culture is different. Not to say that that's okay, but like, you know, for a lot of us that are African kids, our weddings are really for our parents. So a bunch of stuff happens and we don't, we don't care, because it's not, this wasn't for us in that sense. Like, this was so that our parents can come and enjoy and give away their children and cry and be emotional, So that's why that, for me, her taking it, to me, it doesn't make me flinch at all, because that's just in our culture. That's not that happens, but the wedding being for the parents is like a very obvious thing that we know. But it might not be for him, right? The last thing I will say is, a bit of this also does feel a bit like, rich kid kind of issue with his parent, that's when I read it. It was a lot of that, like, you know, they're not doing this. She called me evil. Like, how dare she? I'm like, if you know what my mom's called me, I tell you know. Evil was a real. If evil was a shocker for you, I'm like, okay, well, but it's like I don't know. So I don't know. I don't want because I don't want to cast judgment on either. So this is purely just opinion based on what I read. But it's interesting. It's definitely an interesting thing, and I think again, being a parent, I relate more to the parent side, and so I honestly, when I read that, all I could think was, imagine my son. Like, I'm so tired right now because my kids are not allowing me to sleep and whatever. And then in 20 years of me loving these children, they go on social media and they go, yeah, my daddy controlled me all my life. Oh, I can't even imagine the pain.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's a tough one.
I feel like I'm on the fence, but I am leaning more towards his side, only because I'm coming from more like the young people's side. I do understand the sibling thing that you're saying. But,
that concerns me personally.
But also, like, I know I've mentioned him before, but Gabba Mate, he always talks about how siblings have different upbringings, so they experience different things because you're a different parent when you have one child to two children to three, and you're learning as you go. So your parenting is different. Their experience is also different. So maybe them not coming forward, maybe because they've had a different experience to him.
Is he the oldest or is he like middle? I feel like he might be a middle.
I feel like he's the oldest, but Theo's just having a quick Google for us.
I want to know.
Yeah, because that also has an effect.
He's the oldest.
Yeah, so I think this is what I'm saying.
Yeah, because the younger, they'll become more loose as it goes down in the reins.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. I feel like the oldest gets the brunt of it.
Yeah.
That's what I feel.
So therefore
But then there's the other thing of like, you're complaining about your parents are doing things for the press and this and that, but then you're also posting this thing on your story, which is also clickbait really, because we're going on your page and then, you know, it's kind of just shining a light on you and we're talking about you on the pod today. So, you know, I think he's trending. And
I think if you're the oldest and you feel like you've been subjected to all this control most of your life, then the person that you pick, and it happens often, there's sometimes a hint of rebellion in who you choose to be have as a partner, because someone that kind of has issue with your parents or is going to go against your parents is like perfect for you, because that's what you've always wanted to do yourself. So it then strengthens you to feel a bit more rebellious, and so that's why I'm like. Again, there's always like two sides to every story, so it's like, I don't know.
I think it would be great for them to go
to have them on the pod.
Family therapy. No, they can come on the pod if they want. You know, if Brooklyn. They watch it, then come on. Why not? We'll do a bit of some creative therapy here and do some family therapy for them. But that is what I was going to suggest. I feel like it would be great for them to do some family therapy and really hash it out, because really family is what you have in life, isn't it?
And that's the truth.
Yeah. And he wants to go on and have his kids as well, which is great. But then if you're cutting your family out, that your kids aren't going to have an experience with your grandparents and your siblings, and they'll be needing that. So then you can see how that affects the other generations to come.
Exactly.
And generational trauma is a real thing, people. So I can see how that can go down in generations. So that's the other thing. Yeah, that's it's a tough one.
Yeah,
it's a tough one. Yes, it is a tough one. So yeah.
I've got a question.
Go for it.
Go on, Phil.
Do you think there's a need, or when does a child need to transition to becoming an adult through the parents and how they parent? Because if you always get treated like a kid by your parents, even when you're 55, is that a bit of an odd relationship to have when you remove that your family? Suddenly you've got like, it kind of, something doesn't work there for me.
Yes.
So it's like, how do you move as a parent to treating your kid like a kid to suddenly they're a 30-year-old with their
Yeah.
own motive and autonomy.
Yeah, so I think there is I think it's a hard question, and I think it's hard for some parents, right?
Yeah.
I think it's often hard for parents because they've created a life around their kids, and their kids, they have a dependency around their kids, and so once they get older and their kids get older, it's hard for them to let go of their kids. And I
Yeah.
think that's where that transition is a real struggle. I think where the best way to combat that for parents, I think, is to create lives outside of their children. So one thing that my
100%.
mum did that I always commend her for is when I started uni, maybe, something like that, or around when I started uni, she started going to Nigeria and she was building a school because she wanted to build a
Amazing.
school for kids in Nigeria.
Love that.
So over time, there started being a bit of a transition
Right.
of like me having to realize, even for me, because it's not just about the parents having to do this transition. Sometimes it's also the kids letting go of being children, right? And so when she went to Nigeria to build this school and was going back and forth, I had to realize that, my mum has her own life.
Yes.
She can't just be, and I'm the baby.
Yes,
so I'm like,
yes.
what? You know, and I remember she used to come back from Nigeria and I would be living in the house by myself, going out, and maybe she wouldn't call me in the night, like to see where I am. And I'd be like, you stop calling me. Don't you care? Like, don't you care that I'm,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
But in my opinion, she was doing a really good job at training her own self to be able to let me go, and then training me to be able to let her go. And it then became what it is now, which is where we're both adults and, you know, she's still my mum, but it's like a different relationship.
Yeah.
So I think there's a way, I think, yeah, if you're mentally doing it like that and you create a life outside of your children, that transition becomes clearer at a certain point.
Yeah.
The difficulty is the transition cannot then take away the role of the parent. I feel like no matter what age you are, you still need your parents,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And there still needs to be situations where you can let go and go to your parents. I remember I broke down just before my wedding because a friend of mine who was managing me at the time musically was the person that helped me find my suit for my wedding.
Right.
Because I realised I'd never gotten help finding a suit in my life because my dad wasn't really around. And I broke down completely because I was like, I'm 20-something, 28 or something when I got married, or 27, I can't remember. But I'm like, and I wish I had a dad to go to and be a kid and be like, Dad, I'm struggling to find a suit. Can you help me find a suit? Do you know what I mean? Even with my wife, before the wedding, some woman, a tailor, messed up her dress, blah, blah, blah. My wife's mum went in the middle of the night and found a tailor and brought the tailor to that. So sometimes you need your parents, even as an adult.
Yeah.
The other day I told you I had tonsillitis.
Yeah.
I then had food poisoning after tonsillitis because my son had food poisoning. He vomited like 3 times. I had to clean up the vomit. I had food poisoning. I was in the toilet. I'm going to be very graphic here. I was in the toilet like crazy.
Wow.
For 24 hours.
Wow.
Yeah, like crazy. And I would go to my bed, and while my wife was dealing with the kids, all I could think was, I wish I could just go to my mum right now. I literally laid in bed and I stroked my own head to sleep because I was in so much pain, but I didn't have... So I feel like it doesn't matter the age. You're always going to need your parents to parent in some way. But I think it then becomes the onus of the child to need the parent rather than the parent to be over-parenting the child. And I think as time goes on, you... as you get older, you get the control to choose whether this is a time I need to be a kid and a parent with my mum, or this is a time for me to just be almost like adults.
Yeah.
You know, I think that's my understanding of it.
Yeah, I think majority of my friends have kids, and I'm very conscious of like reminding them that they are also themselves and they're not always mum. They're also themselves. They're also my friend. They're
Really
also, a lover, a partner, you know, and I think sometimes you can really get sucked into being a parent and you kind of forget who you are as well as a person. And yeah, I am that friend that will remind my friends that also, who are you? And yeah, let's go out, let's reconnect, let's have a laugh. Don't have to always be about talking about your children or who are you. Remember, there's you before you had kids.
Yeah.
So I think it's really important to try find that balance. The other thing is I was thinking about is because he was under that control, let's say, for so long, and now like he's hit 30 or however old he is, I'm wondering if he's going through like a adolescent transition later on in life, because as an adolescent, that transition between childhood and adolescent, you're going through that rebellion stage.
That's what I'm saying.
And I remember as a teenager, I hit like 15, 16, that's it. You can't tell me what to do. I'm going to go out. Da, da, da. And I hit that rebellion stage and I completely embraced it and I loved it. I'm sure my parents did not love it at the time, but I did. And I think it's important for teenagers to go through that stage because they're trying to understand who they are in the world and their identity, what they like, their personality, their character is forming. And there's that point where you need to find your purpose and what path are you going to go down, make these decisions, but still you're a little bit still like a child and you're entering adulthood. So it's that grey area in the middle of adolescence, going through all these emotions and your hormones all over the place and all of that. So it feels like there is a rebellion side that is coming out for him. I'm just wondering if it's like the adolescent side that is delayed because he was so controlled and under his parenting, was still as a child from his parents because he was under their control and all of that. So I don't know if he's playing out like a late adolescent transition. Is this what I'm thinking possibly as well? Yeah,
which is why I'm like, if that is the case and if she fuels and feeds that fire, she's the perfect partner for him in this time, and she will always clash with his family because she almost represents his freedom. So not to say that is the truth, but if it is the case, then it's just going to be work all the time. Because she represents the freedom that he didn't get from his parents. So even them clashing, that it'll be like, exactly. 100%. Because I wish I'd said these things to my parents all my life. Yes. Do you know what I mean? So.
Yeah, I feel like I had friends in that stage where I was like 15, 16, 17 that'd be like, why is your parents telling you what to do? My parents don't tell. And I was like, oh, your parents don't do that. Oh, okay then. And then I'm going to start saying to my parents, you can't tell me what to do. I'm old enough to go out. I'm fine. You don't need to be calling me 100 times. I'm fine. So there was definitely some of my friends that were fueling me at that time and telling me like, why is your parents so controlled? Why are they calling you 100 times? You're fine. You need to tell them. They need to back off. I'm like, okay, yeah. So there was definitely those friends. But to be honest, I'm also grateful for those friends because they also made me independent and stand on my 2 feet because I'm an only child. So my parents were very protective over me, as well as a female as well. They were very more protective. So I did feel like I needed a little bit of boosting to feel confident that I am okay, because then otherwise I'm just going to be constantly anxious and worried that, I need to tell my parent this and tell my parent. So I did need those friends as well to boost my confidence. Yeah.
How does growing up inside a strong family identity, like the Beckhams, but maybe we actually try and look at this question not through Beckham lens,
right?
Because I think it might give more interesting answers. Because there's a lot of like, whose side? But if we just go with just a random person, how does growing up in a strong family identity affect self-development?
That's an interesting one.
It's tough. It's a tough reality, and I think
that when you remove the Beckham thing, this question's a bit more like, a family culture and stuff.
Definitely.
It's not just a sort of like a public image thing. It's actually probably day to day. It's more family culture and like what a family's built on.
Yeah, but I think that's what I'm saying. I think in general, it is tough because you know, obviously you don't choose the family you're born
Yes.
into, right? And, but you should have the autonomy to choose the person that you're going to be,
Yeah.
right? And some family cultures don't allow for you to choose who you're going to be and don't allow for you to decide. And for some parents, the idea is, yeah, but we're doing that for your own good, you know, for it to benefit you long term. But I feel like I feel like as a parent, your job is to allow for your children to have freedom, obviously within safety, you know, within reason of their own safety, but to have freedom to develop as people and then try and spot the interests and the things that make them spark and then fuel those fires.
Yeah.
I feel like that's the job, right?
Yeah.
Like yesterday, my son, there's like a weird Paw Patrol fake camera and he kept holding it to his eyes and going, cheese. So literally yesterday, because he was doing it in the morning, I went on Amazon and I bought a children's camera. I didn't know it exists, but it does. It's like
Love
a children's
that.
camera and actually takes pictures and stays. And he was walking around. It came yesterday. He hung it around his neck and he walked around and just started taking pictures of everything. You know, Mama,
that.
cheese.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so he might not care about it in a week or two, but my job is to find those things, you know, find the things within him.
Yeah.
Because, for example, like, he loves music because I love music, but I don't want him to feel the pressure of having to do music just because I love music, right? So I definitely understand the strong family culture and how it can affect negatively, but I think it can also be a positive if the culture is based around freedom, you know? So I think it can be positive, but it also, it can be really, really, really restrictive for someone. So,
It's a tough one for me because I absolutely love my culture, and anyone that knows me knows I love my culture. And I completely embrace it, but there's things about my culture that I don't like.
Okay.
And I do feel like it does restrict
Interesting.
individuals if they're not strong enough to break through the restrictions. So like Turkish Cypriots, it is known, and I was speaking to my friend who's also a fellow Turkish Cypriot about this because we're both two people that have broke through the restrictions, and there's just cultural norms like, what, you're 30, you're not married yet? What? What's going on there?
Yeah,
What's wrong with you? What the hell? Like, and there's just these norms like typical Turkish Cypriots, and please comment and let me know if this isn't right and you've got a different opinion, because I would love to know. They will go down the business road of like, if you're going to go to uni, you're studying business.
Oh, okay.
The women will study beauty.
Okay.
They will open up hairdressers. The boys will open up barbers. And like, these are typical primary school teachers. And like, they're the professions that in our culture is expected of us, right? So being a creative myself, and I was like, definitely not. That's not what I'm passionate about. I'm not interested in business. I'm not interested in beauty parlours. I'm not interested in any of that. I want to be a creative and I just want to do performing arts. My dad was like, are you joking? Where are you going to get money for that? Like, no, you're not. You're going to be a teacher. All right, you like performing arts? You'll be a drama teacher. I was like, I really don't want to teach. That's not me. And it was a massive thing in our household. Like, this argument was ongoing about, no, I don't. And for me, my whole journey has been about finding my voice, because it is very easy in our culture to satisfy our family members and go with what they want.
Facts.
Because then you are shamed if you don't go down that road. So I have seen a lot of people in my culture that are in my generation that have gone down that road. I don't know if they're happy, because I'm not really in touch with many of them now, but they have gone down that road of doing primary school teaching or doing beauty parlours and doing barbering and being married with kids now. And it's because the family does put pressure on us, and that's the norm. And it's not just parents, it's grandparents, and it's generation, and it's also generations before us. Like, I know loads of people in my family that were not happy and married and haven't been happy in their marriage and done a job that they're not happy with for thousands of years. But that's our norm in our culture. It's normal not to be happy and just get on with it.
Yeah. Wow.
And I know that that's not my norm. And I know that I was definitely going to rebel, and I will rebel as an adult till I am happy with what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And that was a whole conversation I had with my friend about our culture. Absolutely, we both love our culture, but this part of our culture I do not love.
Yeah.
I do not love. I've had many arguments with my family about this is the person that I want to be with, or this is the profession that I'm going to go down, or no, actually, I don't agree with your opinion, and that's also okay.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of women in my family, so we're very strong, opinionated women, I'd say, and we are very dramatic as a culture as well. So we are known to use our hands when we talk, which I'm aware that I do, but we're very dramatic as a culture. Everything is, oh my God, and a lot of gossiping happening.
Yeah.
So I know that is a cultural thing, but I also know that I stand on what I feel is right for my life, because I don't want the cultural norms to happen. And also generations to happen for my kids. I don't want them to experience that either. So it's very tough. I still love it, and I love what it represents, and I love that we're a community. I love that element of our culture, that it's a community, but I don't love the fact of you're telling me what to do, and I will choose that for my life. So
I think as long as even for me, like, I don't mind where it's like you have an opinionated culture, as long as it doesn't ostracize you from the culture. Like, I have a tattoo. My mum is not a tattoo. No way. There was no way. But she doesn't love me less. She doesn't call me less. She doesn't, but she will tell me, ew, I do not like your tattoo. Get away. But, so I think it's fine to have, especially because I always say our parents were raised by people who, were ingrained with some of the things that we know aren't right. And they were raised by people that were ingrained with even worse. And they were even worse, do you know what I mean? So you can only teach what you know. You can't teach what you don't know. So, but what I do think is important is if, you do have parents or whatever that are ingrained in certain cultures and have this kind of strong family values that you don't agree with, my thing is, as long as they are still loving and keeping you in
100%,
and not like, okay, get out, you can't come with us or you can't sit with us. That's where it's like, okay, cool. That because some members of my family, not necessarily, but some members around my family or culturally might say, oh, you shouldn't have done this. But I'll tell you, I don't care. Do you know what I'm saying? But nothing's going to happen to me. That's the point. Because we're okay with everybody can say how they feel. We still have our culture. And but you rebelling against it doesn't mean you're ostracized from the community. I think that's really important.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think I visited my grandparents on the weekend, and it was really interesting because there was like a very insightful conversation that happened, because my nan was sitting with her sister, who's her older sister, and she's in her late 80s now, and they were talking about their upbringing. And I love it when they talk about it, because I love the fact that they're sharing about their upbringing and living in a small village where they didn't have anything and stuff. And my nan said, oh, your mum always moans that I beat her when she was growing up, and that but the reason why I did that was because my mum used to beat me all the time, and I didn't know any different. I thought that was how you parent. And she moans that I never beat you as my grandchild, but that's because I learned that wasn't the right way. And I was like, that is so insightful. And I'm so happy that without therapy, she is able to now reflect and have that conversation with me, and also have that conversation with my mom, and say sorry for her experience. That's a great moment, and I really appreciate that. And I was like, I'm never going to forget this conversation with my nan, because I just cherished that. The fact that she could reflect on her actions and also take accountability, but also share that she was traumatized growing up and her mum used to beat her quite badly. So that was just the way that discipline was done back then, and that
Yeah,
was their
yeah,
norm.
that
So
was
she
the
didn't know
norm.
any different. So I think opportunities for reflection with family and having those conversations can also make the connection stronger in those
Yeah.
relationships.
Yeah,
So
facts.
yeah, I would invite people to try have those conversations with their family members.
I've got a bit of a question. I think it's probably
Go for it.
because I know we're running out of time, so it's
Yeah,
probably the
yeah.
last thing to talk about.
Yeah.
But I've got a bit of a question.
Go for
and
it.
even Theo, I would love to know your opinion of this. So I've switched roles.
Yes.
So, this is an interesting one.
Okay.
So, I watched the David Beckham documentary on Netflix.
Oh, yes,
Again,
I watched
good
it.
friend of mine, David.
Okay,
Big up,
yeah.
David. Call me if you hear this.
Yeah.
And I also watched the Logan Paul and Jake Paul documentary called Paul America.
Oh,
Paul
okay.
American. We watched it on the flight, me and my wife, on the way back from Dubai, right? And we loved it. We loved watching it. It was so interesting.
Okay.
And then I heard about Henri and Thierry Henry, his father, and basically there was a theme that a lot of these really uber successful men had tumultuous relationships with their fathers,
Right.
where their fathers were there. Their fathers remained in their lives, but they were very strict. They were not affectionate. They weren't loving. They were, hard on them. And me and my wife always talked about and always asked the question, if we believe you have to have not a bad relationship, but almost like a chip on your shoulder with your parents in order to be uber successful, because we find that a lot of the people that have more healthy, wholesome relationships, not that they don't do uber successful things, but they tend to just kind of do okay. They do okay and they have normal families, blah, blah, blah. But if you literally look at the history of some of the most powerful, successful people, the relationship with their parents was crazy. And so we always talk about it, because we always talk about how, for me, I love my son, I'm so caring and there. And sometimes I think to myself, I don't want him to just become super duper average because his dad loves him, and all these guys that have this chip on their shoulder, like, oh, my dad, I need to impress my dad or please my dad. They end up being very, very successful. So my question to you is, do you believe or do you feel like there is some sort of correlation between being a David Beckham or being a Thierry Henry or being a uber successful person and having that kind of tumultuous relationship, that chip on your shoulder with a parent or parents? Or do you believe you can be that successful without the chip on your shoulder, without that niggling thing in the back of your mind that even if you achieve something, it's like you want to achieve more and you want to achieve more just to be loved or accepted? Do you guys believe that's the case, or is it like, hey, you know?
I maybe disagree with the definition of successful there.
Okay, cool.
I think as many potentially good, successful, quotation mark, people that could come out of that situation, they might do something really positively successful. I think you equally get not very nice people in high power positions.
Interesting.
And
Okay.
I think actually if you take, let's say a nurse who no one knows who they are, they're not branded as commercially successful, but they might have a great relationship with their parents and they might be a fantastic nurse because of their upbringing. So I actually think maybe you can be really successful on a smaller level. That might be because you've had a great upbringing. That might be more impactful even on people's lives on a local level too.
I do agree. For clarity, I'm not saying that it's because I want my son to be successful in that definition of success. What I'm trying to understand if that correlation is almost guaranteed or is clear in those spaces.
I don't think it would be guaranteed.
Yeah.
I think it would.
Can you be not? Don't get me wrong. I believe you could be a wholesome person and a great person. Yeah, so I'm not saying I believe you could be a wholesome and well-rounded person and successful person with healthy parents.
Yeah,
100%. I'm not saying you can't. What I'm saying is in those areas of success where it is, for example, in sports, I think sports is one of the best examples.
Yeah.
Where it is that you are to that level. do you guys think there is a correlation between the chip on the shoulder
I think
and, you know?
it might be generalizing, but there might be something to prove if you have, for example, a lack of a father figure. You might be always kind of looking for that affirmation, and then that transfers into like this kind of like mega drive, but it isn't actually necessarily based in a healthy thing.
It's not. It's not.
Yeah, I think you can be fueled in different ways. So that could fuel somebody to go down a certain path and be driven and be dedicated to that path because they're trying to prove something.
Doesn't
or
mean they're happy.
Exactly, exactly. Or try to like connect to their masculine energy and show that they're masculine because they didn't have that growing up. But I also think there's other things that can also fuel people that are successful. So like, I don't know, like compassion, for example, or other things that will love and things like that can fuel other people, like creativity or a way of expressing themselves because they haven't been able to express or whatever. There's other things that can fuel someone to be that dedicated to a path or be successful in that path. I don't think that the chip on the shoulder is necessarily a good thing.
Facts.
Because how they will interact with the world will be completely different and be holding something in themselves that could make them angry or, you know.
I think there's a similar narrative with music where you might experience this, Mark, where like an artist has to, or there's an idea that an artist has to suffer for their work.
Yes.
And actually, it's about being comfortable, being happy, and then you make happy art. You make
of course.
Art that like represents your frame of mind, and actually, it's just that often your art is connected to your trauma, so it's kind of there for that reason. So you have to shift the sort of like the relationship you have with the art you're making.
So I agree. I think it's interesting. I think there is, if you want me to be completely honest,
100%.
I think there is there's some kind of balance. I think the chip on the shoulder is not healthy, but I think it's just as, and it's going to sound controversial, I think it's just as unhealthy as a participation trophy. Personally, I think it's in terms of like the and I'm just, again, sports is the best example because it's like clear ranking of sport. You win, you lose, you know, it's clear, right? But I think that for most parents or organizations where they deal with young people growing up, it's easy to fall into either overhyping, you know, really talented people or overcompensating people that aren't talented in that area, which is okay. Do you get what I'm saying? There's less of an acceptance of, actually, you're really talented, but don't get too excited. You need to be well-rounded as a human being. But also, this other person, you're not talented in this area, but also don't let that get you down because that's not. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's like, I think they can be both just as bad at times. And a lot of people either fall into either side, either, oh my gosh, your talent is who you are and now that's your identity, or you don't, you know, your lack of talent is who you are in a way. I don't know. It's weird.
I think there is a fine line there as well. But also, if we're going down the sports road, there is a lot of sports that are team sports. So the participation trophy is valid because you're part of a team. So, for example, Liverpool won last Prem. Well, does that mean that last person who scored won the trophy? No, it means that the team won the trophy.
No, but I mean participation as in like where there's clear ranking. So like if we were in a relay and, you know, not a relay, sorry, a race. And someone came first, second, third, fourth. And then 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, you give something to compensate for their running.
Right.
That's where I'm like, no. Obviously, a team sport, you give everybody something if the team wins. But I'm only saying that because I think losing or failing is actually just as good as winning.
100%.
And should be not celebrated, but what's the word? Accepted as winning because it's just as helpful. In fact, in my opinion, losing is way more beneficial to winning because losing teaches. You learn. When you win, if we go from fight culture, winning a bunch of fights don't help you. If you lose a fight, you now know how to then win the next fight, or you know what I mean? But if you keep winning fights, you don't learn anything by winning fights, right? But anyway, we're kind of off on a tangent. So ultimately, I say this to say, I think it's interesting with these parents that are with a lot of power, a lot of profile, because, I think they create kids that have chips on their shoulders. And I think that's what Brooklyn Beckham probably is, you know? And I don't think it turned out the way they wanted it to, or they thought it was going to.
Yeah.
But any takeaways for you from this situation?
Do you know, I'm still very on the fence. I feel I'm very on the fence about this situation. I'm on the fence about looking at things through parents' eyes, but also through child's eyes. And I don't feel like I have a strong opinion either way. I am probably leaning more towards the child side and the young person side just because I'm being biased because that's my profession. But I'm very curious about like what everyone else thinks about this because I know that it's in the social media, it's in the public eye. So please comment because I really am very curious about what people thinking about this trending topic of a discussion and what way you're leaning, so please let us know what way you're leaning, if it's towards like the parents. Or Brooklyn Beckham side. So how about you?
I'll be honest, I don't have much of a leaning just because I'm like, it sounds like a mess.
It does.
But my hope is that they obviously reconcile. I think they should. I think you need your parents, you need your family, especially if they're alive and they're here.
Definitely.
I know he says all these things, but God forbid something happens to them, then you kind of realize, even if you don't want to be in relationship with them, you wish that you reconciled with them. So that's always my thing. Like you reconcile with those that you have because you don't know how long you have them for. But it's an interesting conversation. I think as a parent, it's hard to watch and to know, what to do and hope you're doing the right thing, because I'm just like, that's all that. I wake up with shivers at the idea that in 20 years, my son might be on social media talking about my dad was doing this and that. That's crazy. Especially because as a parent, you know how much you sacrifice, and obviously you don't do it to get a reward, but you also hope they won't attack and be like, you actually did nothing. That's crazy to me. But hey, I don't know. So interesting topic though.
Yeah, definitely. I enjoyed this. So
that's us for this this first episode, and hopefully we get to talk about more stuff like this as time goes on.
Definitely. I think we haven't touched on parenting too much, so it's definitely something we will continue to touch on this season. And I will
tell you guys fully the story of how I met Dave Beckham and Muhammad Ali.
Next time. Yeah, I am interested to know.
I will do.
Yeah. So
see you until next time.
Peace.